Welcome to Damoople, we hook 'em and cook 'em. Do you want to play a game of rock, paper, scissors on some anime graph paper while being told the greatest story in gaming history? What's that? The writing in this game is controversial, you say? Nonsense. The writing of Fire Emblem Fates Conquest is actually akin to literary classics like Neuromancer, To the Lighthouse, and this Fire Emblem Dojin I found. It's mostly like that last one if I'm being real. Allow me to prove my point by taking you through the game in the most tactical way possible. I have done extensive research on this game by reading a Reddit post with 2 downvotes and a video of this guy ranking the character's viability in Birthright. I'll be transparent with you, we're playing in normal mode. As an aspiring content creator, I have to make sure I only have the bare minimum skill to play video games. I'm going through classic mode though. Why? Tradition. If you don't reset your game when the level 1 mage you didn't intend on using dies, are you really playing Fire Emblem? Our protagonist is a simple old man of Nor, or at least as old as I can make him in the character customization. Look, I'm not playing as a twink. I play games for escapism, and I'm gonna name him Grumpa to really sink in the age. We begin in Grumpa's retirement home, better known as Dracula's Castle. Grumpa receives an email from Hoshidan scammers claiming that he is actually in their royal family and needs to send $1,000 right away. But there's no time for that, it's time for training. This man is clearly too old to be leaving the premises, but as a joke, they promised he could go outside if he could win a sparring match against his brother Xander, who just so happens to have unmatched martial prowess, a fucking laser sword, and 0 chronic health conditions. This is where you learn the important Fire Emblem mechanic that all bosses are super glued to the floor for now. So you could tactically retreat and heal after doing chip damage and— wait, where are his shoes? Alzheimer's must be kicking in again. Out of pity, some of Grumpa's siblings come along for visiting hours to jog his memory and take him out for a while. Except they're actually here because Nor's a little light on troops right now, so they need every bag of meat they could get. Seriously though, it's not in the budget to have guards in the throne room, and god damn it, look what happens because of that. So King, can I get something to deal with these intruders? Or at least some shoes? Oh yeah, the glowing demon sword of malefic aura, that'll do. Actually, this feels kinda like modeling clay. Oh well. Here's our first allies in the game. This is Felicia. She is a maid, and very poor at her job. So poor, in fact, that the simple act of delivering silverware results in her tripping and dropping the knives at 3,000 kilometers per hour into the throats of passerbys. Honestly, could have made a great soldier. Unfortunately, that's not your job. You're fired. And this is Gunter. He's what the kids call a pre-promote, in which he's a class you normally acquire later in the game, right now. This man has clearly served his country more than enough, and he deserves a warrior's retirement as a meat shield. There are 2 ways your units could collaborate with each other. One of them is putting them side by side so you can take pot shots on the enemy in combat, and the other way is actually winning the game. You could pair them up into a single unit to share movement, certain stats, tax filing, and once in a while completely negating damage. And just like a real job, the longer 2 people are holding down the fort together, the more likely they're gonna start talking about stupid shit. Somehow all the enemies survive the attack, so the king demands their execution. My guy, what do you think I was trying to do? I had my suspicions earlier, but now I'm certain he gave Grumpa a cosplayer sword. Can y'all just come back later when we have actual weapons in stock? Actually, Grumpa will catch up with them anyway, cause he's being put on border patrol between Nor and Hoshido. Considering his age and the high tension between the 2 nations, this might seem like a death sentence. At least until the king sends his finest warrior Zugu to help. I mean Geb. Gerard? Bucks? Havedi? Pugo? Gazak? Garrick? Oh, it's Hans. This is definitely a death sentence, because the first thing Hans does is break the border treaty and get himself shot, which is actually fine, because Hoshido just so happens to put all their undesirables on border patrol as well. Oh no, the enemy is too strong for us to go that way and miss out on all that free XP? Gunter, this is why you're acting as a wall and not getting your veteran's pension we can't afford. Speaking of which, thank you, Hans. However, as much as I love a free spirit like yourself, you're too much of a liability. Check out this cool Lovecraftian dragon arm. Unfortunately, God saw that abomination and decides to send Grumpa to hell, only for one of Satan's demonic maids to rescue him in the form of a Digimon. She sends Grumpa to the digital world, strangely absent of other Digimon, you know, cause it's a Fire Emblem game, not Digimon. This will serve as our base of operations to manage units, gather resources, feed the Digimon, get budget fan service, and pit farm girls in gladiatorial combat so I could win my glass of milk before bed. Plus you get a sweet-ass treehouse where you could turn any character into an exploitable VTuber. But there's no time for that now. We just started a full-scale war, remember? Time to head back to the real world and— For the record, he didn't get hit by the club, he just blacked out at the same moment. Being away from the retirement home so long meant no IV bag to keep him running. Looks like old Grumpa got kidnapped by— hey, that was the person we were supposed to execute. Getting some unconventionally kind treatment, but I suppose it's because of the delayed execution. Wait a minute, they're really trying to pull the Hoshidan royalty scam again? Joke's on them, he didn't bring any money, and he got drafted. The mission is to rescue the Hoshidan princesses. These creatures attacking them are terrible chimeras created by dark magic and composed of gachimuchi, powerlifters, and Fire Emblem fans. Actually, no magic is even necessary, because the Venn diagram between the three is nearly a perfect circle. The Fire Emblem fan DNA in these creatures makes them pretty easy for the princess to fend off, so why are we even here? This is the stage that introduces the danger area, essentially the squares where enemies could attack you on their turn. The danger area allows for my favorite strategy in the franchise, which is to park your entire army right outside it, then place your most defensive, or least favorite, character in the danger zone to bait them out, and finally swarm over that now vulnerable unit. Repeat this for the rest of the game, and then get a bad ranking for tactics. I'm also gonna let you in on a little secret. Because we're playing Conquest and not Birthright, Brinka is only temporarily on our team before she becomes the enemy, which means she ain't doing shit on my watch. With the Gachi gang gone, it looks like Grumpa is finally getting the memo that he's never gonna see that Hoshidan money, and goes out for his daily senior walking rehabilitation session. This is where we encounter Azura, the character who sings to buff units and sometimes sings to advance the plot. Debatably one of the most important characters in Fates. I mean, she's on the cover of the main artwork, so I imagine we'll be seeing her a lot more. They're still really pushing this Hoshidan family thing, huh? Fortunately, we have a character with his moral compass set right. At every chance he gets, Takumi is trying to talk Grumpa out of this whole scam. He's a good soul. Taking advantage of the elderly like this just isn't right. This is also when we find out why Grumpa's sword is a big stick of clay. It's made out of C4. The one who detonated it was
Shadow Wizard Money Gang. We love casting spells.
Grumpa hates that newfangled DJ music so much, he enters Blue Eyes White Dragon mode and goes on a rampage against them. This is where the game introduces how certain weapons are super effective against certain classes. For example, the Wormslayer here is capable of doing less than half of a dragon's health bar. Even with the Shadow Gang gone, Grumpa is still grumpy, so Azura attempts to calm him down with a lullaby. The only thing Grumpa hates more than trap music is VTuber avatars singing. Oh shit, she's dead. I really thought she was gonna be a pivotal character, but no, she's just dead for the rest of the game. For some reason, this triggers a memory of Grumpa in which King Garen rescues him from the murderous king of Hoshido. I guess the whole family scam thing must be vengeance, but that's not important right now. With the sword detonated, Grumpa's unarmed. If only Grumpa was the chosen one for a legendary blade. Thanks, God! Well, it's been quite a busy morning. Time to call Xander to pick us up. Oh good, he's already here. Xander has the galaxy-brain idea to invade Hoshido, by himself. No, wait, he brought his little sister too. This is where players need to— Wait, cut! Hey, kid. The camera's over here. Just look over. Okay, thank you. This is where players need to make a pivotal decision. Do you choose the kingdom with a military-industrial complex, constantly facing skirmishes and invaders that just so happen to keep its economy running? Or do you choose the kingdom with Guatemala's economy, trying to invade the militaristic kingdom with those resources? Personally, I would choose neither. I don't feel right supporting this, and this is just being stupid. However, I can't afford the DLC, so I chose what's best for Grumpa and went with the kingdom that has his medical record. Ryoma is understandably upset that his little gold scam didn't work, so now he's just—
Open your eyes. Can you not see how
They're hateful
fiends
fiends
wish to travel?
You can stop now. Hey, the new sword works! Back in Nor, the king is pretty disappointed about Grumpa indirectly blowing up an enemy town square, killing their queen— oh yeah, that happened, sorry— and incapacitating their commander. What can I say? The man has high standards, plus he could have committed regicide himself if he wanted to. God knows he has before. Also, meet Iago, whose only line in the entire game is, you know, fuck that Grumpa guy, am I right? On repeat anytime he appears. It's a convincing argument, but Garen's just gonna let God decide it. Oh boy, we already know where this is going. Actually, the peace and love of God have graced Grumpa today, so long as he kills every pagan in the north. It doesn't help that Garen goes on a monologue about making Grumpa suffer right in front of all the Norian royalty, but I guess that's just a perk of despotism. Like, come on, you think you're gonna vote him out of office? The path to the Ice Tribe includes includes the Woods of the Forlorn. Nor's forests are the envy of the world, and they're dedicated to preserving this beautiful land. This is why anybody who steps foot in the woods gets torn apart by park rangers. Princess Elise arrives with some new units to pitch in this chapter. Oh no, she's not here to save Grandpa. She just saw this beautiful landscape and thought, we could put an Aldi here. Elise is your token character that looks and acts like Discord mod bait. That's normally a red flag, but I'm actually gonna keep her around because she's currently our only healer. Not to mention she eventually gets really efficient with spamming napalm. Just a little childlike roughhousing. And this is our Homelander. Best known for having astronomically bad luck, but being such a Giga Chad that he writes it off and says a line about staying in school or something. It's very normal in a single turn for him to get sandwiched by 2 trains, develop pancreatic cancer, and lose a slot machine he wasn't even playing, to then crit the enemy anyway. I would like to note that killing the Prince of Nor has crossed his mind once, and we'll get back to that later. Silas is a plank of wood, but he's a very nice and pleasant plank of wood. I'm actually not sure if that's true, since I have this footage of him murdering a nude man. Fortunately, he's on a horse, and the Fire Emblem forums love horses, so we're keeping him around too. This is Effie, Elisa's retainer and gym bro knight with the physique of your body pillow character with the physical prowess of Doomslayer. In her base class, she's meant to either wall off enemies or hit them with such strength they still have a little bit of health left to retaliate. Effie's actually one of my favorite characters in this game, so it's a shame she died in this chapter. Now that we've made it out of the woods and are en route to the Ice Tribe, let's take a small detour across the entire planet to pick up a single country bumpkin. Mozu's a kid from the sticks and armed with a stick that just had her entire village eradicated. Our recruiters could practically smell the desperation. Nice kid, honest farmer, which only makes it cooler when we condition her to become Nor's best contract killer against anything utilizing the Z-axis. But after reading some of the supports, I'm kinda convinced she doesn't actually do any farm work and swindles other people into doing it for her. She might even be a chronic liar. How can you claim to fight wild boars and bears with a strength stat of 6? Kinda banking on that being true if she's gonna help against the Northmen. I've seen how they deal with bears. It's a good thing we took that time out, because by the time we got back to the tundra, a blizzard coincidentally started up. And can somebody get this man some goddamn shoes? He's dying of frostbite. But Grandpa was rescued by the Ice Tribe, so what happens later is gonna be a little awkward. Also, when Grandpa was told to suppress the pagans of the north, I don't think I was expecting the cute anime maid, but I guess I've seen them do some pretty occult stuff. Anyways. This is the chapter that introduces villages, in which visiting them can net you some pretty good items. In this case, it prevents more enemy units from joining the fight, but why miss out on that extra XP, you know? This is also where we get Leo's retainers. Odin here is the one angsty teen that does magic role-playing Club Penguin, except the difference here is that he could actually follow through with those curses. Unless it's outside combat, then they're pretty much guaranteed to fail. If you look closely at his appearance and mannerisms, however, you might notice he's very familiar to another Fire Emblem character. That's right, it's Odin from Fire Emblem Heroes. We got Niles too, who, to be serious for a moment, is a tragic character forsaken in his youth, forced into an existence of unspeakable sin and crime, only to be rewarded with the agony of a wretched soul and defiled face, the haunting embodiment of Nor's failures. So obviously, he becomes the flirty bad boy who likes doing a little online trolling. He's also the only character in Conquest capable of capturing all the ugly characters in the game and recruiting them to your team. We're back at the castle to report the heresy removed in the north, only to hear the classic YuGiOh line. But I get it, social security is becoming a serious issue after all. It's pretty nice of Grandpa's siblings to put their lives on the line for him, because let's be real, Grandpa's the only one getting shit done around here. Which is why he's getting sent out again to kill some Hoshidans. The fastest way to note your suggests is through this fort made out of a dragon's body, which is metal as fuck, but I'm also not into vor, so we're just gonna go around it. See what happens when you take the scenic route, you get unfathomable horrors on your team. Here we have Nyx, your token 30 trillion-year-old sorceress who looks 13 for this anime adventure. She broke the golden pitfall of dark magic that's fuck around and find out, so now she's doomed to constantly complain about being cursed with a minor's appearance. Hey, I wouldn't be complaining. You realize how badly Grandpa would want to be young again? Welcome to the filter chapter, which you either set the difficulty to normal, or you give in to the Hoshidan scammers. We're having a skirmish in this harbor town with the enemy being led by Takumi.
Now pay for your betrayal!
My guy, where are you aiming? You got a range of 2 and we're on the other side of the map. Oh, I get it. He's throwing, but pretending to contribute. Good guy, Takumi, still looking out for us. We still have to fend off the rest of the army, though. We got walls, ballistas, and magic turrets to bottleneck and wear down the forces. So naturally, the best course of action is to go out and kill them ourselves. We also get some help from Camilla and her Hey, you're in that book from earlier. She plays Molly from Neuromancer. Camilla starts as a Malignite that uses magic once and then swings an axe for the rest of the game. She's a big fan of mothering the player-made character, which is really weird in this case considering Grumpa is 3 times her age. She also really gets into killing. Yeah, okay, get in line. At least Baruka sees the killing as an 8 to 5 gig, but she's also kind of an edgy roleplayer like Odin. See, it makes sense to be an emotionless meat grinder when you're thrown into the slums and killing at a young age, but she goes through the character arc of warming up to people with almost every support conversation partner, so I'm pretty sure it's a LARP after the 3rd or 4th one. As for Selena, I don't actually have any notes on her. She somehow became a benchwarmer despite how strapped for soldiers this army is, so what I got out of her is that she likes shopping, which probably just looks bad on my part. Niles did some homework on her to maximize his strolling and couldn't find anything either. She just sorta like she's from a different video game or something. Anyways, where's all the water? Mario, was draining the Mushroom Kingdom not enough? You gotta make the entire planet shifting sandland? This makes defending the point harder since anyone can move through the moats now, but more importantly, this harbor town's economy is completely fucked now. Fortunately, that just saves us money because we don't have to buy a ferry to the next location now. That being the Rainbow Sage's summer home in the peaks, so we could get our magic plot buff. They say that anybody who goes into that sanctuary will die. That must explain why the first room is full of alive and healthy Hoshidan soldiers. I guess I have to fulfill the prophecy for them. This chapter is the embodiment of the bait and swarm tactic I mentioned earlier. There's stairs that allow you to transfer between rooms, but for some reason Hoshido decided to dispatch all their Ed 209 units to the sanctuary because they ain't using those stairs at all, which means I get to bait them to the stairs and then get a clean getaway before the last thing this archer sees is my army of murderous teens coming up the stairs. Unfortunately, the Hoshidans have a certified troll of their own that, once in range, will irradiate you and set your half-life to right now. I'm gonna kill him. I don't even care that he's unarmed, mostly because God does his fighting for him. Anyways, I clear out the sanctuary and the Rainbow Sage makes our sword glow. Last time that happened, a whole town square was massacred, but instead this does absolutely nothing. Gotta find a Norian hero before the power kicks in, and for some reason, Homelander doesn't count. YuGiOh shows up here to say his famous catchphrase, which in YuGiOhese roughly translates to, "The king demands you to kill the Rainbow Sage." A tough decision to be fair, but the Rainbow Sage just died of old age on his own. Don't be too relieved, old timer, you're up next. This ninja also shows up being one of the only survivors of the fight and thinks, "This guy beat my ass twice. I think I'm on the wrong side," and joins the crew. I don't have many notes on him either other than he's a pleasant person that does ninja things and peels potatoes. Notably, he was present when King Garen rescued Grumpa from the Hoshidan king. He spotted the Norians and didn't report it to the king, probably because he was 3 years old and couldn't speak coherently. So now that we prove the rumor about people dying at the sanctuary is only half true, the Rainbow Sage realizes he needs to keep his reputation and gives Elisa a virus in his dying breath. The army's gonna survive, sure, but if a princess dies, then the rumors are gonna blow out of proportion. The crew is sent to Makarth where they hope to find a cure. Unfortunately, all they got at this palace is pots full of steroids, radiation, anesthesia, and a pissed off samurai. Not really sure what the plan is here, but I imagine Elise just gets so blitzed that the virus dies from intoxication. It's very nice of the enemies to stand near these pots like an explosive barrel in a first-person shooter so they can know exactly what Elise will go through. This is also a good chapter to mention Dragon Veins, which will alter a level if you step on them with main character privilege. In a chapter like this, you could either break a few pots to bottleneck the enemy forces, or you could do what I did and use a Dragon Vein to legalize chemical warfare. There's no Geneva Protocol in Fire Emblem after all. Speaking of gross violations, here's Perry. She's a sociopath that gets a kick out of killing people, but it's okay because she's cute and quirky and makes the yummy food. At least her superiors will call her out on this bullshit, but I don't think they could do anything about it because she has the connections and irredeemable trauma to file for discrimination. So Xander gave her a horse so she can make it to the battle first and hope that she gets killed in action. Unfortunately for Xander, and fortunately for me, she's pretty good at her job. On the inverse, Laszlo didn't do his job at all because I didn't use him. He's got the unique ability that his dances give stat boosts, but the last character that did that got killed by a dragon. Again, not many notes on him like Selena, so I'll just chalk it up to I don't like mercenaries.
Agumon Gregor, I'm so sorry, please forgive me.
What? Another rebellion? Surely nobody else but filthy pagans could possibly have a problem with the shit economy, murder woods, chemical warfare, Hoshido 9/11, and abusing the elderly. Grumpa's taking control of the main army this time, along with the help of— How the fuck did you survive? But you know what? Hans is being respectful and gets shit done at the end of the day, so he's fine to ride along. Takumi's here and he takes a shot at Grumpa. The arrow has a rubber safety tip, so we know he's still looking out for Grumpa. But he does shoot Elise with a real arrow as per the Rainbow Sage's final request. Gonna have to stop you there, pal. I'm not a big fan of her either, but I just spent a whole chapter trying to keep her alive, so, you know, sunken cost and all that. I don't have much to say about this chapter except that the boss doesn't have any super glue to keep her in place. I learned that the hard way. Notably, here's quirky psychotic murderer Fire Emblem character number 14, and here's her dying before carrying out that trait. And on the topic of disorders, we get introduced to Nore's finest border guard here. Charlotte is one of my favorite characters in this game. Not because of her personality, no, that's mostly just being toxic. It's because the developers apparently decided to make violence against women a game mechanic, just to really rub in the virtues of this character. Plus, her manipulative personality disorder leans towards histrionic, so she's always doing these, "Oh, thanks for censoring that, Benny. Saves time with the editing." He's a lot like Effie, except he actually looks like Doomslayer and didn't die. He has a quiet and reserved demeanor, but I've also seen him murder a nun with a stick. Twice. Every single rumor about him is true. He's putting on a facade just as much as Charlotte. He's openly friends with bears too, and between this fact and Mozu's capability to take down bears, I'm starting to wonder if Fire Emblem bears are even the same creatures we know in real life. Thanks to these two, the gang's able to clean out the rest of the rebel forces so Hans could live his best life, which is ending the lives of others. They don't specify how the rebellion leader got killed, but it's implied to be pretty gruesome. I know what happened though. She got dunked on by my main Giga Chad Homelander, let's go! Let's not get too upset about it, Gramps. You've done worse stuff on your own volition. Besides, we have a show to catch. There's supposed to be some top-billed singers performing here for King Garen, except there's not even any performance. They just don't show up. Unrelated to that, King Garen has a heart attack. Had to happen eventually. He is one of the only characters older than Grumpa. And unrelated to that, Hoshidan Assassins, because there had to be a reason for these boats to be arranged into a Dr. Mario level. This is also where we meet Keaton, who I gotta say, has the best sense of style. Actually, I'm not doing a sum up on Keaton. Grumpa drops the ball in trying to recruit him. Just because he's a dog man doesn't mean you have to patronize a clearly cognitive person like a dog, you racist. Speciesist? Whatever. Keaton doesn't join us. It's a shame too, because this creature looks like another reason Fire Emblem bears are trivial. It's also a shame because we're down a unit after the boss caved in Odin's skull. This wasn't even part of the battle. I think they were just talking before the show when he got sick of Odin's nonsense. That being said, hey buddy, you seem pretty good with that mace and a spot on our team just opened up. You wanna hop on? That was rhetorical. King's a bit upset that he spent over 1,000 gold for a no-show concert, so Grumpa and his brother are tasked with killing every dancer in the city. Leo's all for it because he wants to prove that reading a stupid book all day will make him the alpha male. Okay, Elliot Roger, that sounds a bit incel-ish, but at least that conviction enhances Grumpa's sword. If this is the Rainbow Sage's idea of a hero, I'm pretty sure he has no problems with the perpetual conflict he claims to regret. After all, why use an explosive sword to take out a market when you could use a higher stat sword to take out an entire civilization? Leo does join the army at this point. What can I say other than he's a fucking nerd? Dude's always talking about strategy and studying, when the reality is I, the player, am doing way more in those departments than he is. However, because Odin's dead, we could use another magic man on the team. We're just swapping out the D&D fanatic for the kid in high school who owns an M1 Garen. This is also around the part of the game where you start collecting seals to help you promote or change your class. This allows you to customize your units a bit more, like turning your lolly cleric princess into a frontliner bullet sponge, or conversely, turn your wall of meat and iron into a Greyhound on the rocks please, hold the rosé, chop chop. Old Grumpa is seasoned in more than one way at this point, so he gets the first Master Seal to be promoted to— what does it take to get this man some goddamn shoes? Unfortunately, a promotion just isn't enough for Grumpa to feel that siding with Nor wasn't a mistake. Oh, what clued you into that? To top that off, Grumpa is haunted by the ghost of Azura and follows her to the afterlife. Hey look, Gunter's here too! No hard feelings, right? I suppose Odin and Effie aren't here because they went to hell. Obviously, Odin was way too deep into the witchcraft, but Effie didn't re-rack the weights at the gym, which is debatably worse. This afterlife plays more like Valhalla than Christian heaven, though, because all its inhabitants are ready to throw down with the warrior prince for training. You might be wondering how a dainty singer like Azura gets by here. Have you seen her strength growth? She was destined for Ragnarok. You get clones of these units in this chapter that share the same health and equipment, which means the Grumpa variants take turns downing painkillers so the other one could keep pushing forward. He does overdose and get a bit delirious, so—
My path is—
oh shit. So do I put in the clip of the game over screen? Actually, Grumpa lands back on Earth, and since this isn't something like a 3D platformer or a first-person shooter, there's no fall damage. I should note that before leaving, Ghost Azura tells us that in order to overthrow Garen, we need to put him in a Hoshidan gaming chair and ruin his posture. But why would we want to do that? Anyways, since we conveniently landed at the base, we might as well— I'm sorry, who are you? No, seriously, I think I saw him somewhere in Dracula's castle. The only notes I have on him is Selena calls him a fig snort, so yeah, okay, your name's Fig Snort. Fig Snort allegedly has the same job as Felicia, except he's good at it and possibly has a robot hand. Well, okay, if you claim to be a butler, that's what you're gonna do. Get out of my army. Normally, I'm pretty anti-YuGiOh, but here I think he justifiably questions why Grumpa walked into the lake and disappeared. Something must have snapped in Grumpa's head, either from seeing the truth of life after death, the accumulation of PTSD from this war, or simply substance abuse, because he starts ranting about killing people in the night. YuGiOh is so horrified, he just gives Grumpa money and a cruise ship to stay away from him. Xander must not be thinking right either, because he attacks Grumpa out of nowhere and then starts killing soldiers on the boat. The pressure's already getting to him in his 20s. I get the feeling he might not be fit to be the next ruler. If he gets his act together, then he's a great addition to the army, mostly because, like I said before, martial prowess and an evil laser beam coming out of his sword. Otherwise, he's just putting in his 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. being a commander and heir to the throne.
For now.
That level of dedication is probably why Xander snapped now and is playing a deadly game of Among Us on the boat, also because someone's disguised as a Norian soldier and stealing from the war chest. What this whittles down to is killing anybody on the ship wearing red and threatening to kill anybody wearing green. Blue people, you're pretty alright. The mastermind behind this is Shura, who throws the match for the imposters by getting one shot. He does offer to join our ranks if we spare his life. So we're given two options here. We have this antisocial, Organization 13 reject that stole 20 bucks from me, or we could get some drip. Thanks for the new kicks, man. This is future Damoople, here to say that I actually forgot to give anybody the boots, so Shura actually died for absolutely nothing. The ship finally lands and, yep, we're close to Hoshido alright. Completely intraversible. I just can't stand ninja-centric infrastructure. But at least the ninjas of Makushu are primed to join Nor, cause we need all the help we could get. I'm sure Ryoma is grinded to level 20 by now. These guys are pretty efficient too, capturing high-ranking ninjas and using them as bargaining chips. Very impressed. Wait, you were promised land for winning the war? And we weren't? Deals off, kill this man. But not before stealing his ninja techniques, because Grumpa is going to be our honorary master ninja. You'd think that K's would be the master ninja, but that little slip up in the past revoked his license and doomed him to play with puppets for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, even all these promotions don't stop me from resetting this level 4 different times. It's not even due to the ninja highways nor the ninja enemies. It's mostly my own fault for using these dragon veins to seal off exits and depriving my own units of oxygen. What I should have been doing is timing the blockages so the enemies are trapped in a room with the entire Norian army and taking their oxygen instead. Meanwhile, Baruka starts talking to Leo about her freelance Etsy grind, which is killing indiscriminately. Leo's not very comfortable with that, and the conversation just ends there. These two should marry. When you pair up characters for long enough, their faces turn red and they pop out another body for the front lines. But I'm not about having child soldiers in my army for the most part. And yeah, I know half these people are cutting high school to die for their country, but I'm not sending out a baby. Newborns get sent to what I like to call the awakening zone, where they could safely grow up enough that I'm not uncomfortable seeing them impaled on a lance. We're gonna check in on Leo's son since gestation in Fire Emblem is fast and growing up in the awakening zone is even faster. I see he's doing pretty well, captured by bandits and about to be executed. Not really a problem, since we could just capture this ugly bastard of a leader and do some prisoner swapping diplomacy, except we keep both of them. With that family reunion done, Grumpa is— oh, I'm sorry, you thought I was gonna sum up the child units too? Grumpa is hitting the triple digits in age soon and needs to settle down, so naturally I chose Niles to be his partner. Is it because I want particular stat boost? No. Is it because I like his character? No. Is it because I'm trying to make a statement for the LGBTQ+ community? No, it's because I hate Kana so much, I want to ensure she never exists. Now that the deal's off with the ninja squatters, we're licking our wounds at Izumo Palace, a neutral place which just so happens to be holding a banquet for Hoshidan royalty. Hey, that's a low blow coming from somebody who looks like a Beyblade. Turns out the banquet is a ruse by the Norian illusionist disguised as the Archduke. Zola here managed to capture all the Hoshidan royalty and is about to execute them. Wait, Zola, that's actually a good plan. Get wrecked, Ryoma. No hard feelings, Takumi. I barely know who you are, but I'm sure you would have given me shit too. Unsurprisingly, the death of the remaining Hoshidan royalty has put the nation on high alert, so we have to take a little detour through rain first. But you know what? I'm not gonna judge. I'll let them do their thing, and we'll do ours. Okay, but if you're gonna try and pull a sniffa, this is out of self-defense. However, those 30 cases of self-defense don't come easy since the enemies could PvP log or bypass my IP block on them. To counter this, I tracked down the artist in their group and commissioned them to fuck off. Are we still going the right way? I know we're taking a detour, but this This is the 4th non-Hoshidan faction in a row since allegedly landing in Hoshido. The army needs to pass through the Wind Tribe territory. However, the Wind Tribe hates women. The chief of the Wind Tribe is willing to make an exception since he's curious about the YuGiOh. I mean, I would be too. That's sort of somehow clipping through Grumpa's armor. I got some questions. At first, the diplomacy was going well, but then— hold on, Grumpa, is that a kid? Ah, shit. This chapter has high winds that will push your units across the map in both directions. What the Wind Tribe doesn't know is people with dragon blood also happen to be the last airbenders and push all the enemies into the sandy abyss. Just to review, during our invasion of Hoshido, we've wiped out a completely different nation and 2 unrelated indigenous groups. I'm pretty sure Zola has done more for the Norian cause than Grumpa at this point. Maybe we'll see some action at the top of this hill. The Eternal Stairway is one of the great wonders of the world and Hoshido's most renowned landmark. They're dedicated to preserving this magnificent structure by outsourcing to the goddamn faceless. The labor must be cheap too because they don't stop coming. Not to mention these manhole cannon head guys that just take pot shots at you with pieces of the stairway. Hey, kick these guys out, they're the defilers, not us. The Norian royalty could use their political power to stop the assault for a turn because the faceless are Norian citizens in the eyes of the law, but then they remember they're in Hoshido and keep attacking. Also, despite being one of the only units capable of flying over this bullshit, Baruka manages to get killed anyway. Nevertheless, everyone else is heading to the exit, but that's not stopping the park rangers from doing their job. We're gonna need someone to hold the line. Alright, Benny, time to do what Effie couldn't. Unfortunately, the plot decided that Benny didn't do his job right, and one of the park rangers is about to ban Grumpa from the stairway and his mortal coil. But at the last second, a noble sacrifice is made by the Digimon? Oh shit, I forgot about her. It's been weeks since I last fed her. You'd think she would have starved to death by now. Well, rip, I guess. Okay, you could technically visit and feed her after she dies, but there's nothing there. Grumpa gets all sad and it just disappears. I don't know why, but this is just the funniest thing in the game to me. Fort Jinya is the last defense against us to enter the capital. It's controlled by the Mad Puppet King Yukimura and Sakura. Didn't you all die from Zola's trap? They must have reset the chapter in their playthrough, since it's actually RNG whether I decide to let Zola execute them or not. Well, I'm not down for branching timelines, so you still have to die to keep things consistent. Easier said than done, because despite insisting on helping in the battle, she managed to isolate herself in this panic room surrounded by an additional layer of walls. She has range stabs to heal, sure, but it's a little hard to heal people properly when your point of view is this. That won't last her long though, because one key to Hoshido's wealth is hiring the cheapest contractors possible. Some of these walls implode on themselves if Norian royalty so much as looks at them funny. Hi, Sakura. Say, you're Hoshidan royalty. You think you could advocate for higher quality construction so things like this don't happen? With the leaders down, Garen's army shows up to euthanize the remaining Hoshidans. Yes, I said euthanize. Have you seen the shit we did to those soldiers? Might as well not dwell on it, because we have more kids to turn into war heroes. Percy here is Arthur's son, and since he spent all his time in the Awakening Zone watching the boys, he thinks Arthur actually is Homelander. Percy managed to convince these mercenaries that we're Gazak's bandit gang, and I mean, he's not wrong. We did recruit Gazak into our team, and we've definitely done some worse stuff. For this chapter, you could bait all the enemies into a group and then use your protagonist privilege to pacify them. Or you could really impress Percy by making a lot of references to his favorite show. Enough of this superhero nonsense. We're gonna set your mind straight. Off to the trenches with you. Let's keep draft season going. Somewhere down the line, Laszlo had kids with DNA tracing back to Azura, which seems weird to me since she got killed before they could ever meet, but considering Laszlo's background, I'm sure he has his ways. The gang finds his daughter Soleil defending a village. I wish I had more to say about her, but she got killed in this chapter. Apparently you're supposed to use these as barricades to block the enemies from entering the center of town, but I just used them to make this sorcerer starve to death. Wait, she's alive? And doing fine? But she's not on my roster. Are you faking an injury? Get back in my army, you draft-dodging Astolfo looking at. We're picking up the other kid by meeting halfway in the middle of the ocean, which means we're setting back our conquest of Hoshido a few months after finally making it to the capital. We're playing a game of bumper boats on these maps, so if you're not careful, your units might get left on a ship full of enemies. Or in Niall's case, the enemies get left on a ship with him. Imagine spending the better part of your life studying the dark arts and all of the sacrifices that entails, finding a school of like-minded sorcerers to be your companions in this time, learning about their hopes and dreams and sharing the hardships of being semi-invisible, sailing across the ocean, and then gay big boss comes on your ship, ignores your life's work, and kills everyone. Anyways, you're welcome, Shigure, but we're pretty low on food after sailing out here, and that That's a nice looking Pegasus you got there. I guess you're gonna be a singer like your mom. It's a good thing absolutely nothing has changed in the Hoshido situation since we went on that little detour, so we're back at the wall to the capital. Takumi's back, which means we'll have another easy win. Ow! What the fuck? All of a sudden, Best Buddy here is all piss and vinegar and... What's that next to him? Oh no, that's the actual game script. Okay, team, we are on code red. We gotta get up this wall that is apparently too tall to even fly over and kill Takumi pronto. I've gone over 20 chapters making up shit about this game, and I'm not gonna let him derail us now. Fortunately, the insurmountable wall of Hoshido has one weakness that aligns perfectly with my playstyle. We're going back to the whack-a-mole stairs. Except the mole has a barbed arrow that goes directly into your femur. Oh no, a group of enemies have flanked my singer. He's clearly outmatched and they could easily outpace him. God bless the Z-axis. Takumi isn't taking this loss very well, especially with several untreated open wounds. Okay, buddy, chill. I know you're trying to get the plot script back on track, but okay, Takumi's going Ultra Instinct now. Actually, it didn't matter since he bled out anyway. Welcome back to the breathtaking capital of Hoshido, Grandpa, where the amicable locals who once gave you free potatoes now want to skin you like one. Can't say I blame them though. Imagine a suicide bomber causing the greatest tragedy in your country, and then just respawning like, ready for round 2, motherfucker? Hinoka is guarding, holy shit, you could do that? Hinoka is guarding the castle, and she's using her protagonist privilege, antagonist advantage in this case, to boost the movement of all flying units and chase down our ground patrol. Two problems with this plan. Number one, everybody saw that little propeller stunt you did there, so I could just reverse the effects and have the majority of my army become an Apache kill squad. Number two, remember that farm girl with a stick we picked up near the start of the game? Since that day, a bow has not left her grip. She is trained specifically as anti-air, except we also put her on a big-ass bird. Hinoka's buff applies to any flyer on either side, not that she'll have any flyers left after this. Oh yeah, and Percy has a dragon, but he's more of an Uber for his dad. Realizing that she has lost everything because of a single country bumpkin, Hinoka pulls out the classic Hoshiden scammer card one more time, with all these fantasies about watching her precious brother grow up. Grandpa, who barely knows who this person is and frankly doesn't entirely know where he even is now, personally strikes her down and says she's dead to the world. It's finally dawned on her that the gig is up, so she asks Grandpa, at the very least, to spare Ryoma. Sorry, can't spare him, honor bound by the duel. I'm pretty sure that final blow humiliated Ryoma hard enough to erase him from existence. This is the chapter where we get one of my favorite units in Birthright, Ryoma, and... what the fuck? I guess the war's over now, right? Every Hoshinen on the planet is either KIA, MIA, or every other continent IA possible. We're on the verge of claiming the throne, but just to be safe, let's leave again and recruit more estranged children. Benny and Elise got married somewhere down the line solely because I wanted to put Elise in his armor. Not because she was getting hurt too many times, I just thought it looked funny. We find their son Ignatius bravely posing as the first and last bastion between a humble village and a horde of shadow soldiers. That's cute, kid. You're getting beat up by the first Naruto cosplayer that happened to pass by. The shadow soldiers are lost in the woods over here and don't even know the village exists. Proud of you, son. Get a haircut. Kaze and Perry got married too, and I don't know about this. Even for me, this kid might be too young to draft. I've never seen the word adult carry more weight than it does now, and I'm pretty sure it's about to collapse. Her whole gimmick is brewing narcotics though, so I guess her job could be a Breaking Bad reference. We'll legalize whatever she makes after the war. And just so it's not child labor, we'll call it a biochem internship. Xander is pulling a Disney and marrying everyone's favorite farm girl turned contract killer Mozu. Doesn't know shit about politics or international affairs, and even insulted Xander multiple times, but she's got the spirit. Honestly, Xander just wanted a figurehead. Their son Siegbert is an adamant farmer just like his mom, except he's a farmer in Minecraft. And monster spawners surround him, so we gotta go in and break all of them before his infinite chicken machine gets burned down. He's a good kid, working hard to live up to his kingly expectations. Not that he'll need to worry about that. You may have noticed I never mentioned who Percy's mother is. Naturally, Giga Chad Arthur got the prom queen, and since he married into royalty, he has ascended to soon become the new king of Nor. What about Xander? Unfortunately perished in an accident. What about Leo? He's a fucking nerd, he isn't ruling. Now let's get Garen on that gamer chair and ruin his posture so we could usher in the true king. Oh hey, Iago. You know what? I'm done with this guy. This man could use several helpings of capital punishment. Arthur's first decree as soon-to-be king is execution by firing squad. With his posture ruined, it's time to finally reveal King Garen's true form. Except you don't get to see it. I actually have to censor this chapter for YouTube. I don't know how to explain this, but they made a monster made of cum. Naturally, all the royal children see this ad revenue destroyer that's been neglecting them for years, saying openly destructive things, permitting war crimes. Oh wait, there's no Geneva Protocol. And they decide,
No, that's our papa, sad face. We can't hurt him.
fine, if you won't do it, the new king will. With the terrible King Cum finally defeated, peace can now return to the land of— just kidding, now we gotta fight Ghost Takumi. Harvesting the souls of Odin and Baruka, he's come to haunt old Grumpa by berating him with angsty 13-year-old roleplay. Also shooting him. Grumpa, what are you doing? You can't just take the hit. You need to take your meds, Chief. You're not thinking clearly. Take your meds. Take your meds! Well, shit, he's dead. But with enough willpower, Grumpa could crawl back from the precipice of despair. On the horizon of oblivion, a symphony of voices orchestrated by companions and comrades alike call to him as their last flickering beacon of hope, contemplating his journey, his future, and his sacrifices. Grumpa dies anyway. Takumi shot through his pacemaker, and there's just no recovery from that. I guess we have to beat the final boss without our ghost-busting sword. How are we gonna do that? Oh wait, he's right in front of us. Thank you, cutscene consistency. And so, peace has returned to both nations, or maybe just to Nor. Hold on a second, you might be saying. Haven't you forgotten some of the other children characters? Look, buddy, war is war. People die. Being 6 feet under is the best contraception. Anyways, King Homelander, as a man of justice, had most of the roster imprisoned both for actions during the war and before. Sorry, Midori, we couldn't get the law passed. History remembered Grumpa as a senile warmonger who ultimately had good intentions. Scamming is a costly crime after all, and who could forget Nyx?
Fucking who?
We heard about your little problem, and the king has used Hoshido's wealth to fund a research project to finally cure your curse. Wait, I forgot she was an ancient dark sorcerer!